So I'm going to show Mary how to find neutral pelvis and also talk about the relaxation position. Now I've asked Mary to lie down on the mat and her immediate reaction is to lie with her legs straight out. But I'm going to ask you now, Mary, to bend your knees, bring your feet up. That's it. Okay. So we talked about hip width apart, and actually when don't keep your head where it was and just can you hear me all right?
Yes.
Yeah. We talked about posture in really whichever position you are. So when you're doing Pilates exercises, ideally you don't want to have your legs lengthened away because it actually pulls on the pelvis. So I want you to have your knees and your feet hip width apart. Okay, so remember those hip bones. Put your fingers on your hip bones, the bits at the front, the bony bits. Find those bony bits, that's it. Yeah, exactly. Mm-hmm. So you want your knee in line with the bony bits, okay? And you want your feet also hip width apart, okay? So then you've got the hip bone, the knee, running down to the middle point of the ankle, which is between the first and second toe, all in a line, okay? And that allows the pelvis to relax and no strain being put on the pelvis. If you slide your legs away along, keep your fingers where they are on your hip bones, slide your legs away again along the mat and see what it does to your pelvis. Can you immediately feel it slightly arches your back a little bit?
Yes, and they're more prominent.
Well, they've gone further forward because you've moved and tipped your pelvis forward. Yes. So now bring your legs back to where they were and you'll feel how it just settles the pelvis back into a much more comfortable position.
Yes.
Okay, good. So I'm going to show you how to find your neutral pelvis. Now your neutral pelvis is different from other people's because it always depends on how much curve you've got in your lower back. Some people are very curvy in the lower back, some people are very flat in the lower back. So you can't come out with a sort of hard and fast rule. Okay, keep your head in the centre, that's it, so you don't put any strain on your neck. And try not to tilt your head back if you can. That's it, good. So to find your neutral pelvis, I want you to use the analogy of a compass. Mm-hmm. So I want you to think of your tummy button as being the north of the compass, your pubic bone as being the south, and then your hip bones being west and east. Okay. Now you've got a ridge along the back of the pelvis, and I want you to very slowly move your pelvis between the north and the south. So as you go north first, so your lower back goes towards the mat. So tilt your pelvis so your lower back is towards the other way. So more towards my hand, that's it. So now you've moved your pelvis to the north, okay? Yeah. Now come back and then start taking your pelvis to the south and you get a slight arching in your back here, okay? You put your hands back on the floor. So you never want to have that arching in your back, okay? So come back to the north again. So just very slowly, see if you can avoid using your buttock muscles and just use the pelvis. That's it, and then come back to the south. So you start getting an arch in your back. Okay, now because you don't have any back problems, you can slightly exaggerate that arch. If you had a back problem, you wouldn't want to do that, okay? So go back to the north, and once more to the south. There we go. So you can feel there's quite a wide ridge along the back of that pelvis. And come back to the north again. So really, as a general rule of thumb, to find your neutral pelvis, slowly come back through, and as soon as you start to feel that your pelvis is tilting to the south, as soon as you start to feel a slight arching in the back, then just come back just a tiny bit. There. And then you should find that your pelvis is settled into a really comfortable position.
That's comfortable.
Great. So the pelvis is neither tilting to the north, you haven't got any sense of your lower back towards the mat, and it's not tilting to the south, there's no sense of arching in your lower back at all. If you have a back problem at all, it's much better to be slightly to the north, so there's no danger of any arching in the back whatsoever. So that's finding your midway point between your north and south. And now with the east and the west, you could find that you're putting a little bit more pressure on one side of the back of the pelvis than the other. So you could be slightly tilting down to the west or to the east or to the left and the right, whichever way you want to look at it. So if you just very subtly, and this is almost impossible to show on film, but just if you do it yourself, then you can feel it. You slightly put a little bit more weight down through the right-hand side of your body, and then you move back to putting a little bit more weight on the left-hand side of the back of the pelvis. Can you feel that? Just very subtle transference of weight to the left and the right side of the pelvis. Try and keep the knees still if you can and isolate the pelvis. And then settle back to where it's exactly the same amount of weight on the mat on the left and the right side. So you're not putting any more pressure on one side than the other.
Yes, fine.
Can you feel that?
Yeah.
So that is your neutral pelvis. You're exactly halfway between your north and south, and you've got exactly the same amount of weight through the left and the right side of the back of the pelvis. And that should feel very comfortable.
Yes,
Yeah?
it does.
Great. So that, remember, that is your neutral pelvis. So whenever you come back into this position, just do a little jiggle north and south, east and west, until you find that. After a while, you'll just automatically get into it. You won't have to do that. But to begin with, always do that so that you know you're in your neutral pelvis. And then it's allowing the spine to fall into that pelvis without any kind of strain at any joint. Okay.